my gender a bit more. People have been making egg jokes or saying I'm on HRT for years, and kind of because of that, a lot of the trans community started popping into streams or like seeing my videos or interacting with me, and that had never happened to me before. And I learned a lot, and some of it seemed a little bit too interesting. It felt a bit like I uncovered a part of myself that I've been purposefully just shutting down for as long as I can remember and never questioned why.
Ain't that cute? That's nice, you know? Very, very, very nice, very happy. Glad it's working out like that for him or them, however it plays out. This is common with people who find this community too. Yeah, the possibility space of what you can be, what you're allowed to be or act like or dress like or whatever else. You know, there are a lot of social limiters, usually implicit ones, sometimes explicit ones that very carefully control what people think they can be or do. So when you come into contact with people who live a very different life or who believe things or who say things or act in certain ways that you weren't previously that familiar with or you didn't really understand that much, it can make you think like, oh, wow, I guess that is a doable thing. That is like that is a thing that is possible to do and not just some kind of like weird abstract thing, you know? It reminds me of that joke that always circles where people are like, doesn't everyone wake up in the morning wishing they were born a girl? No, that's a you thing, actually. You know, but it would take a conversation with somebody else who feels that way in some cases, I think, for a person to think like, oh, okay, maybe that actually means something and it's not just some kind of like quiet experience everyone has. This is actually really common with homosexuals and bisexuals, right? Where like, this is very common with women especially, I feel, where this is like an older thing now. I don't think it's as common today, but there was like a trope, I guess, in historical lesbianism, where a bunch of women who were themselves bi or lesbian would think like, oh, well, every girl is attracted to other girls, but you're supposed to be with the guys. And it's like, well, no, that's not actually true. Not every girl is attracted to other girls. Like that's that's a you thing. Like that's not just like an innate default thing everyone's constantly repressing. That's actually like a specific thing that you don't have to be. No, not everyone wants to kiss cute people of their own gender, if you can believe it. If you can believe such a thing, that these degenerates walk amongst us. Anyway, Finster coming out is cool. People seem to be really positive. As Finn said just there, cross-dressing led a lot of people in the trans community to pay attention to Finster and what he was doing and his streams. I've seen Finster interact with a lot of, you know, trans content creators and sex workers on Twitter, usually in very like mutually friendly ways, which is, I mean, you know, I'm glad everyone's happy. You know, I'm glad everyone's having a good time. A lot of people, I have seen discourse about people in the past accusing Finster of trans baiting, like basically like, oh, haha, what if I was a guy but dressed and acted like a girl, you know, as some kind of like pantomime of transness, which a couple of points to that one. First of all, cross-dressing isn't trans baiting any more than being trans is like pantomiming being a woman. That's just a very stupid and reactionary way of thinking, for one. And for two, you know, people who cross-dress consistently, certainly the point that Finn has, usually something going on there. Not saying always, just usually. Kind of weird to discount that. It's not like there's no relationship between people who cross-dress and people who eventually decide they're trans. Like that's not a zero correlation kind of thing, you know? There's something going on there. Steven Crowder? Yes, Steven Crowder, known transgender. It seems like even in progressive communities that even when you are doing things that most people would consider to be progressive, or at the very least something that the progressive community would care for, people are really ready to judge or ostracize you for it because it doesn't, like, you're not doing it in a way they care for, if that makes any sense. You know? I can, I'll talk about that more in a second, but let's run through a little bit more of the video. It's not a long video. We don't even have to watch all of it.
I have this notes page on my phone from over a year ago now with a handwritten note of like pros and cons list of taking HRT, and when I went to go fill out the cons list, there wasn't much I could come up with. So
yeah, let this be an alert to people in my community watching. If you are a guy and you're doing this, you've got some thinking to do, okay?
Started.
Oh, also, I know it's stupid, but I wanted to say it. I did factor in the whole, like, I wonder if doing streaming and the money that's kind of attached to it is the reason I wanted to do this. Like, is it warping my brain? I did think about that. I've streamed for years and it's been my entire life and I've made a lot of money off it, and I wonder if that's what's affecting me and making me want to do this. And it's not. This isn't exactly something I just decided, this will be funny, and then did. I am maybe the most risk-averse person I knew, and I was terrified, but I knew it's what I wanted. I just wanted to put that in there just so I'm not, like, in one of Blair White's thumbnails or something.
So...
Really thought the Blair call-out here was funny. Yeah, I think it's pretty smart of Finn, I think, to kind of, like, get ahead of anyone who claims that this is something that he's doing exclusively because there's a monetary incentive. This is something that transphobes often point to, the idea that there's some kind of, like, other reason, whether it be money or clout, that people pretend to be trans. This is a delusional take, right? Like, that's an insane thing to believe. Like, yeah, man, people become trans for all the awesome benefits, all the, like, money and clout and social power that comes with being trans. People love that. But it is something that people say. So, you know, absolutely deranged, opposite of the truth, whatever. I wanted to say, though, in terms of, like, weird assumptions to make, or like weird guesses, basically everyone for a while now has either publicly or privately expressed some doubt that Finn is cisgender, because, again, like, the video opened with, wow, what a surprise. Like, you know, there have been more surprising transgender reveals in the history of YouTube. I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, egg discourse, though. So let me try to intro this to people who aren't fully aware. Just let me see if I can, like, I think most people who are watching this in my community know, but maybe there are people in, like, YouTube, like, who will watch later who might not know. But, like, okay. People who are transgender, generally speaking, want other people to be transgender. Not in some kind of, like, corrupting influence way, but more in a, like, a lot of trans people saw themselves as, like, having lived through an experience of repression, and they're of the opinion a lot of other people are as well. Now, that's because a lot of people are, and we're seeing that right now from an increasing number of people who are identifying as trans or non-binary or whatever else, right? Like, clearly, the, impermeable barriers of our socially determined two-gender system or whatever are a lot more fluid and a lot less, like, innate than people initially thought. So when transgender people see people who are acting like they themselves might be transgender, that's usually something that trans people get kind of excited about, because they look at it and they think, like, oh, I can help this person, or, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this person could get some kind of, like, insight that I didn't get when I was younger and didn't know that I was trans. Maybe there's some way for me to hasten the process of self-understanding or help or be supportive or something like that. The euphemism, or I guess the analogy or metaphor or whatever, the one that usually gets employed is, like, the egg, right? And then when the egg gets cracked, you know, like you crack an egg, that's when a person realizes they're trans. So when a person gets called an egg, that's a trans person who doesn't know they're trans yet, not a trans person who's in the closet. That's not what an egg is. A trans person who's in the closet is just a closeted trans person. An egg is a person who doesn't know that they're trans. So I think what Vosh means here is that trans people want other trans people to feel comfortable in themselves. Nope, I said what I said, because trans people are annoying and insufferable when it comes to the egg discourse, and that's my point. Trans people want other people to be trans, and I know that because people in my community are constantly, like, making jokes about me being trans, or this person being trans, or anyone being trans. This person held their wrist at an odd angle. You're transgender. You're transgender. You're transgender. Now, a lot of this is just, like, harmless good fun, and by the way, everyone does this to some extent in some way or another. I've said, like, oh wow, how gay, because a person, like, I don't know, like, does this one time or what. Like, it's not that unusual to make jokes about how, like, secretly everyone is gay or trans, but you do it knowing that it's a joke. And to be fair, I think the vast majority of people who do that do know that they're joking, but I do also think that the egg discourse can be kind of a little bit weird sometimes. Like, I'm not trans, but I am bi. I was gonna say pan, but let's just say bi now because we're talking in the context of like me 15 years ago. When I was in high school, I had very supportive friends. By supportive friends, I mean like they were just chill people. Wasn't a big deal. It was all good, you know? And at some point, when I was like 15 or so, I realized that I liked guys too, and I would have to at some point mention that to my friends, which I did